A giant shadow fell across Earth as the Imperial fleet arrived in the skies above. Their warships so massive and countless they dimmed the sunlight and turned day into twilight. A chilling reminder of the power now hovering just beyond the clouds. The fleet was a wall of steel and fire, each ship bristling with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds before. They hung in perfect formation, silent and watching, like predators circling their prey. Humanity had seen such scenes in history. Books when empires had forced smaller nations to bow, but this was different. This was the entire planet under threat. People across the world froze as giant alien ships appeared on every news broadcast. The Galactic Emperor himself soon appeared on every screen, his face strange, ancient, and regal, his crown glowing with cold light, his voice like rolling thunder. He spoke in flawless translation. His tone neither angry nor mocking but simply final. He said, "Kneel, or be destroyed." His words were simple but they carried the weight of death. Across Earth billions of people fell silent. Mothers held their children. Soldiers stared at the sky. Leaders sat frozen in their offices. For a moment, it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Every alien race that had faced him before had bent the knee. The stars were filled with empires that now bowed to this one ruler. None had dared to resist. The Emperor's power was too great. His fleets too unstoppable. Surely Earth, small and fragile compared to these vast civilizations, would have no choice but to kneel as well. Across the galaxy other races tuned in to watch, expecting the same pattern to repeat. They whispered, "The humans are finished." Some even pitied humanity, seeing them as too young and weak to stand against such a force. But inside the United Nations War Room in New York, the atmosphere was different. The room was filled with generals, scientists, and diplomats. Screens flickered with live feeds of the alien fleet, every move recorded, every weapon analyzed. Some leaders sat pale with fear, some whispered of surrender. But one man, General Marcus Kane, leaned forward slowly, his weathered hands on the table, his eyes calm yet sharp. He studied the Emperor's face on the screen not with fear but with a strange focus. He whispered almost to himself but loud enough for those near him to hear. "He has no idea who he is talking to." The words carried across the room like a spark in dry grass. Soldiers turned their heads. Diplomats looked up from their despair. It was not arrogance in his voice but certainty. The kind of certainty that only came from knowing something no one else did. Outside, the streets of Earth boiled with fear and debate. Some cried out for peace, others demanded resistance. But the people waited, every second feeling heavier than the last, as the Emperor's fleet hung above, confident and unshaken. Deep in space something else was happening. Far from the Emperor's sight, Earth's fleets, small compared to the Empire, waited in silence, hidden in the dark edges of the solar system. Ships that had never been revealed to the galaxy, weapons that had been built in secret, technologies forged through human desperation and creativity. Humans were underestimated, always underestimated, seen as fragile, violent, unpredictable. But what the Emperor did not know was that Earth had been preparing for decades. Since the first signals of alien empires were detected, humanity had poured its heart, sweat, and genius into defense, into survival, into ensuring that no foreign ruler would ever chain them. Back in the war room the silence was broken as one diplomat asked in a trembling voice, "General, what do you mean?" Kane did not smile, his face remained like stone, but his eyes burned with the weight of history. He replied simply, "They think we are weak because we are human, they think surrender is our nature, but they forgot one thing, Earth never kneels." His words fell heavy in the air, stirring something ancient in the hearts of those who heard. It was the same spirit that had fought through countless wars, that had risen from ashes again and again, outside, in homes and cities across the planet. As people replayed the Emperor's demand, a strange calm began to settle. Humanity was afraid, yes, but under that fear something else burned, a defiance that no empire could erase. The Emperor's fleet remained above, expecting surrender, but in the command centers of Earth, orders began to flow, messages flashed to hidden bases, coded signals raced through space. Humanity's answer was coming, and it would not be what the galaxy expected. The suspense stretched with every second. The Emperor waited for Earth to kneel, the galaxy waited for Earth to kneel, but in the silence of the war room Kane's faint whisper still echoed, a whisper that promised fire. "He has no idea who he is talking to." Outside, the world held its breath, waiting for the storm. The world watched in silence as the Emperor's fleet hung above Earth like a dark shadow, the largest invasion armada ever seen by human eyes, and across cities people froze, some terrified, some furious, but all waiting for the decision that would decide their future. And inside the UN war room, the generals and leaders of nations argued in low voices, some saying surrender was the only option, that Earth could not face such numbers, while others shouted that kneeling meant slavery for generations, and in the middle of the room stood General Marcus Hale, tall, calm, a scar across his cheek, his eyes fixed on the hologram of the Emperor who sneered from his golden throne, his voice echoing with arrogance. Earth, your place in the galaxy is below me, obey and survive, resist and burn. And the words struck like thunder through the chamber, but Marcus only leaned forward and said in a steady tone, "We have been underestimated before, and those who thought us weak did not live long enough to regret it." And for a moment even the politicians stopped talking, because there was steel in his voice that carried something ancient, something born of a species that had crawled through mud, fought through war, endured famine, and survived everything thrown at them. And while the Emperor waited, sure of victory, the humans sent their reply, a short message of only 3 words, "We will not." And across Earth the reaction was explosive, cheers in the streets, soldiers clapping each other on the back, children raising fists, because humanity had made its choice, and yet in the silence after the cheers came fear, for the Emperor's fleet still hovered above, and no one knew what would happen next. But Marcus knew, because long before the Emperor had arrived, Earth had been preparing in secret, watching the skies, building ships not as large but far more dangerous, hidden in underground hangars, cloaked in the dark side of the moon, silent, waiting for the moment, and now with a nod he gave the order, and deep in hidden bases engines roared to life, great doors opened beneath oceans and deserts, and human warships, sleek, sharp, and bristling with weapons unknown to the galaxy, began to rise, one after another, a hidden fleet no outsider believed Earth had. And when the first ships broke through the clouds, the Emperor's admirals gasped, for they had been told Earth was primitive, weaponless, and easy to crush. But here were ships with energy cores that pulsed with strange power, rail cannons that glowed with heat, and swarms of drones darting around them like steel birds, and Marcus spoke softly as he watched. Now they will see what it means to corner humanity, and the world held its breath again, because the Emperor's order had been clear, kneel or burn, but humanity had chosen a third path, one that would burn brighter than the stars themselves. The first shot was not fired by Earth, but by the Emperor's fleet, a massive lance of plasma that tore through the sky like a burning sun, slamming into the upper atmosphere where it exploded in a storm of light, shaking cities below, windows shattering, people screaming as fire rained down, and the Emperor's voice carried across all frequencies. "This is only a taste, kneel now or suffer the full power of the Empire." But General Marcus Hale did not flinch. He simply raised his hand and gave the command, and at once the hidden human fleet surged forward, engines roaring like thunder, rail cannons charging, missile pods opening, drones releasing from their bays in clouds of silver, and the first counterstrike began. Thousands of tungsten rods fired from orbit at near light speed, invisible until impact, tearing through the Emperor's forward ships like paper. Massive vessels splitting apart in silence before the sound reached Earth below. And for the first time in centuries the Emperor's voice cracked with anger as he saw his mighty warships fall, and his admirals shouted in panic, "These weapons, they should not exist. How does this world have such technology?" But Marcus knew why, because humanity had never stopped preparing. Their wars against each other had forged weapons more brutal than any alien could imagine, and when the first alien vessels exploded, cheers shook the bunkers and cities, people hugging strangers, tears streaming down faces. But the battle was only beginning, and soon the Emperor ordered the full fleet to fire, thousands of beams cutting through the void, raining destruction down, and one by one human ships were struck, some vanishing in flames, crews sacrificed in silence. Yet even as ships died the rest pressed forward, drones weaving through enemy formations, hacking systems, planting bombs on their hulls, detonating in blinding flashes. And the Emperor realized Earth fought with a fury no species in the galaxy had shown, not slow surrender, not desperate retreat, but pure defiance, the kind that would rather burn than kneel. And Marcus stood in the war room, watching every loss with a hard expression, but also every victory with the calm of a man who knew this was not just survival, this was a message, and into the calms he spoke so the Emperor himself could hear. "You think we are weak because we are young, because our world is small, but we are the children of fire and stone, we are born from war, and we will never kneel." And across Earth his words were repeated by billions of voices, shouted from rooftops, whispered in basements, prayed in temples, until the planet itself seemed to roar in defiance. And even though the Emperor had more ships, more firepower, and centuries of conquest behind him, doubt flickered in his eyes, because he saw now that this battle was not like the others. This was not another easy conquest, this was a storm, and the humans had only just begun to show their teeth. The Emperor could not believe what he was seeing, his fleet, the pride of 1,000 conquered worlds, burning before his eyes at the hands of a species that should have been on its knees, and rage twisted his face as he rose from his throne aboard the colossal dreadnought Eternal Crown. A ship so vast it blotted out the stars behind it, a moving fortress armed with weapons that could tear moons apart, and with a gesture of his hand he ordered, "Bring me Earth's heart. I will destroy it myself." And at once the Eternal Crown moved into the battle, its cannons charging, the space around it glowing red as energy levels spiked beyond comprehension, while the humans below watched their screens in silence, hearts pounding, for this was no ordinary ship, this was the Emperor himself, and Marcus Hale knew if they did not stop it here, Earth would be crushed into dust, and so he gave the order, "Release Aegis Protocol." And deep beneath the oceans, vast doors opened, releasing machines that no alien had ever seen before, giant submersible carriers rising from the waves, launching swarms of black-winged drones into the sky, while orbital cannons hidden in the crust of the Earth itself came alive, their barrels glowing white-hot, and the first shot from Aegis ripped into space, striking one of the Emperor's escorts with such force it split into two halves, scattering flaming wreckage across orbit, and the Emperor narrowed his eyes. "So they kept secrets even from the stars," he hissed. "But secrets will not save them," and then the Eternal Crown fired, a single beam of annihilation that cut through the atmosphere like a spear of the gods, blasting into the Pacific Ocean and vaporizing water for hundreds of miles, the shock waves circling the globe, tsunamis crashing into coastlines, millions crying out in terror, and Marcus knew the cost of every second they delayed, but he did not falter. He ordered the fleet forward, human ships diving headlong into the fire, smaller and weaker but fighting like predators with nothing left to lose, swarming the Eternal Crown in a storm of missiles and railguns, and even as dozens were torn apart by the Emperor's wrath, their sacrifice opened cracks in his shield, small but real, and Marcus turned to his officers, his voice steady. "Every life matters, every second matters, hold nothing back," and the humans obeyed, sending nuclear warheads into orbit, EMP blasts crippling alien sensors, kamikaze drones slamming into enemy hulls. And slowly, piece by piece, the Emperor's invincible armor began to fracture, but then his voice filled the comms again, deep and cold. "You cannot comprehend what you fight. I am not only ruler, I am eternal, I carry the legacy of the stars themselves." And with those words the Eternal Crown revealed its true power, the ship unfolding like a blooming flower, vast wings of energy spreading, each glowing with the essence of stolen suns, a weapon the size of a planet ready to fire, and across Earth panic surged, people falling to their knees in despair, but Marcus spoke into the comms, his voice cutting through fear. "Stand, humanity, stand and fight, for this is our world, and if we must fall, we will fall as fire, not as slaves." And in that moment, the humans launched their last hidden weapon, something no alien could ever predict, a massive station hidden on the dark side of the moon, its core made from human ingenuity and desperation, firing a focused railgun so powerful it could break a planet's crust, and as the shot screamed across space, a single silver line of light, it struck the Eternal Crown directly, shaking the great ship for the first time in its history, tearing open one of its energy wings, and the Emperor staggered in rage, gripping his throne, his eyes blazing. "Impossible!" he thundered, but Marcus only whispered, "This is only the beginning." The alien fleet was restless now, their confidence shaken by the sudden destruction of the vanguard ships, but the Emperor's pride would not allow him to retreat. His face appeared again across every screen in the galaxy, his eyes burning with fury, and his voice roared, "Earth, you dare resist me, you dare challenge the empire of 1,000 worlds, you will not survive the storm that comes next." His command went out, and thousands of alien ships surged forward like a tidal wave, their weapons glowing with deadly light. But on Earth, the generals did not tremble, instead they stood in silence, watching as their hidden plan unfolded, for deep beneath the oceans, human submarines opened secret hatches, and from them rose towers of steel, launch platforms that had been kept hidden for decades, forgotten by the world, but not by the military that had sworn to protect it. The first wave of missiles screamed into the sky, vanishing into the clouds before streaking toward the alien fleet, not ordinary weapons, but warheads carrying experimental payloads crafted in secret labs, weapons that had never been used in battle because humanity had never faced a foe worthy of them, until now. In the skies, explosions lit the heavens, dozens of alien ships burst apart like glass shattering under pressure, their fire raining down upon the earth like a false meteor shower, but the aliens kept coming, wave after wave, their numbers endless, their formations perfect, a wall of power pressing closer to Earth's surface. Human pilots launched into the fight, their jets darting between beams of energy, their drones swarming like insects, each one guided by human minds who refused to bend, and every alien captain watching their displays felt something they had never known before. Fear, because humanity was not just resisting, humanity was fighting with a ferocity that no simulation had predicted, every strike precise, every counterattack brutal, as if Earth had been preparing for this very moment all along. Still, the Emperor pressed harder, ordering his most advanced warship, the Solar Crown, a vessel the size of a continent, to unleash its primary weapon, a beam of light so powerful it could slice through mountains, and as the weapon charged, the galaxy watched, expecting Earth to finally break, but in the UN war room, General Voss simply said, "Now," and far beyond Earth, near the asteroid belt, something stirred. A fleet appeared, not alien, not fragile, but human, ships larger than any thought possible for a species so young, their hulls forged in silence in hidden shipyards orbiting cold rocks where no one ever looked, and when they moved with purpose, engines burning blue fire, weapons locking on the Emperor's fleet from across the void. The alien admirals froze, realizing too late that Earth had not been defenseless. Earth had been patient, waiting, hiding its strength until the exact moment of truth, and now, humanity struck. The hidden fleet fired, lances of energy, railgun slugs moving faster than light, waves of guided weapons that cut through alien shields like knives through water, and in minutes, ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were nothing but burning wrecks tumbling into the darkness. Across the galaxy, worlds watching in silence felt their hearts thunder in their chests, because for the first time in their memory, the Empire was bleeding, the Emperor's invincible armada was being torn apart by the very people he had called weak. On the throne ship, the Emperor gripped his chair, his golden armor trembling with rage, his voice shaking as he screamed to his captains to fight harder, to not falter, but his words carried no power anymore, because the truth was already written in the stars. The humans were not prey, they were not subjects, they were predators who had bided their time, and now they were unleashed. Earth did not kneel, Earth rose, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy had gone silent after the fall of the Emperor's fleet, silence that carried across systems like a ghostly echo of fear, for no one could understand how a world as small and young as Earth could defy the most powerful empire in known space. Yet the proof was undeniable. The once proud armadas that had darkened Earth's skies now drifted as wreckage in orbit, their burning hulls reminders that humanity had answered with fire instead of kneeling, and in that silence came questions. Whispered in markets, palaces, and councils across the stars, who are the humans, what secret strength do they hold, and most dangerous of all, what will they do next? For the galaxy's rulers who had once mocked humanity as weak now feared that they had awoken something old and relentless, while the common people across dozens of empires whispered of hope, hope that maybe the Emperor was not invincible, that maybe tyranny could be broken, and all of it had begun with a single defiant planet, called Earth. Yet inside Earth's own war rooms the tone was colder, more careful, for General Ward and Commander Arya Voss both knew the truth, that humanity had only revealed a fraction of what they could do, and that the galaxy would never forgive them for it. Satellites scanned for hostile movements in every system, human fleets drilled in silence at the edges of dark space, and hidden projects long buried under mountains and oceans were being brought online, machines and weapons unlike anything the aliens had ever seen, because the humans understood that what had been done was only the beginning. They had slapped the Emperor across his face before billions of eyes, and there would be retaliation. Already alien spies were crawling through Earth's networks, already black fleets were gathering in secret, and already the whispers of rebellion in other systems were reaching human ears, but humanity did not plan to hide. Instead they prepared to strike first, prepared to show that Earth would not be a victim of history but the writer of it. Across cities people celebrated in the streets, thinking the war was won, yet behind the smiles the generals worked like shadows, for they knew wars were not won with one battle, and the Emperor himself was not dead, only humiliated. Somewhere beyond the stars he was watching, planning, waiting, his hatred for humanity burning like a star. And it was in this dangerous silence that Arya Voss gave her final words to the United Nations Assembly, her voice calm but heavy. We did not fight today to prove we are strong. We fought because no one has the right to chain us, not him, not anyone, but make no mistake, he will come again, and when he does, the galaxy will see what it means when Earth fights with all its heart. And across the stars those words were carried, smuggled through forbidden channels, spoken in back alleys and royal halls, until the galaxy began to tremble with a question it had never dared ask before. Could humanity not only survive the Emperor, but destroy him? No one had the answer yet. But every leader, soldier, and citizen knew one truth, that the day Earth refused to kneel was the day the galaxy changed forever. And in the silence of deep space, beyond the edge of every star map, the human fleets gathered in the dark, waiting for the signal, waiting for the war that would decide the future of all living things. And when that day came, the stars themselves would bear witness to the fury of Earth.